Welcome to Tub Talks with Damon, on location in Las Vegas at the Biomedical Prevention Summit. And my special guest in the tub at the Cosmopolitan Hotel is Jonathan Dixon. How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm so glad to do this interview with you.
Thank you.
We've been talking about this for a little while.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. And I'm excited.
I'm excited too, because you are someone who is showing all of us about finding your voice, using your voice, and being humbled in that process.
Very humble.
Yeah. So I want to talk more about that. Sure. But before we do, I want to ask you, Jonathan, get ready for it.
Yeah.
Here it is. Wait for it. What do you like most about your body?
At this stage of the game, I would say my eyes.
Okay. And I just want you to speak up a little bit.
At
so
this
make
stage
sure.
of the game, I would say my eyes.
Yes. What do you like about your eyes?
The shape.
Uh-huh.
The color. And they say the eyes are the windows to your soul.
Yeah. Yeah. Show the people. Yeah. I know. It's like on this film. But you do have very warm
Thank you.
eyes.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you for doing this tub talk with me.
Glad to be here.
So we were talking, conferences like these are interesting because there's a lot of people here who have been working in the field and doing this work or volunteering in this work for decades. And a lot of us know each other, and I call us the lifers because we're not going to be able to do anything else at this point. But, what that sometimes means is I hope that it's still a space for people to feel like they can come into this and learn, what does HIV education, service, activism look like, and that it's inviting and open for people to want to take part in that.
Yes.
So you are kind of stepping into this, really
Newbie.
Stepping into your power. You call yourself a newbie.
Yes.
But you have been living with HIV for how
I
long?
was diagnosed in 1995, but I truly believe that I was in the first wave back in the 80s.
Wow.
Yes.
You believe that you were carrying HIV early?
Yes.
And were you tested at all during the 80s?
No.
Okay. What stopped you?
Just the fear. I remember watching Ryan White on television, and I was in awe of how he handled himself. But what overshadowed that for me was the fact that if they could do that to him, just a boy who was not gay, who contracted it on, by nothing from himself, what would they do to me? So I just retreated, so I did not get tested in the 80s. I got tested in 1995.
Wow. And I'm trying to do the math. You were
I was 31 when I was diagnosed.
Okay. So what finally led you to taking that step after all those years to get tested?
Just a constant fatigue.
Physical?
Physical. I don't really remember. Like I said, I've packed a lot of this away, and I'm in the process of unpacking. But I don't remember what got me to the doctor, but it was just like maybe a low-grade fever or something to that effect. Just wasn't feeling myself. And it had been going on a bit longer than it should have. So I went and got tested.
So you knew physically something
I
was not
felt it.
right.
I didn't think it was HIV.
Okay.
So that was a surprise.
Okay.
So.
So how did you get the news? How did they give this news to you?
Doctor, face to face, very, I don't want to say nonchalant, but looking back, it's like, well, your test came back positive. There was no empathy or anything like that. So I immediately changed doctors. He was my primary and not, anything else. And so I'm like, okay, I need to seek out someone for me.
Where did you?
This was all done in Houston.
Wow. So you've got a primary doctor who just non-empathically
Yes.
tells you this life-changing news, and this was before treatment, so this very well could have been life-threatening news at that point.
It was.
Yeah.
Fortunately, a year later, antiretrovirals came into play, but not knowing for that period of time, you know, and strangely enough, that same year, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. So 95 was a very, very rough year. So dealing with this, you know, on my own, didn't feel as though I could tell anyone. And I carried it around for a long time. And then when I did tell people, it spread like wildfire. So that was another issue I had to deal with, yes.
Like gossip?
Yes. So.
And when did that happen? Like, had you been living with HIV for a while, or was this toward the beginning?
This was toward the beginning.
So without your permission or without your consent?
Yes.
Someone got the news and started talking about it.
Yes.
What was that like?
Very hurtful. I, again, retreated, but I still continued to, you know, live, but not wholly. You know, always kind of like with my head down and just kept to myself.
Did you feel like there was stigma or?
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
You know, just everything that came before that. You know, Rock Hudson and Ryan White, and, you know, all of that. And
But then when people found out about you,
exactly,
that they treated you differently.
they kind of steered away. They pretended it didn't matter, but, you know, being that person looking, you can see. So yes.
So you were living with HIV,
Mm-hmm.
and sounds like you were just kind of doing your own thing. Like, did you have this kind of community, like of activists or educators or people, any kind of mental health or support for you?
I did seek mental health, and I was in treatment for about a year and a half to 2 years, and that helped. But I did not have this community that I have now.
So not the kind of thing where there's like social groups or people who go out.
Let me
together.
rephrase that. It was there. I did not seek it out.
Why not?
I don't know. I think subconsciously was not wanting to be identified, even within the community. You know, not knowing how loving and supportive this community is, and how welcomed I feel. I mean, like every time I'm at a conference or something, I just feel this embrace.
Yeah. So then how did you step into what you're looking at now, which is stepping into your power, stepping into your voice like this?
It started in, I would say, November of 2020. I was at my infectious disease specialist, and after my examination and everything, he asked me if I would be interested in being on the board of directors. And normally I would just shy away from that. It's like, no, you have the wrong person. But there was something in me that said, you must see something in me that I don't. So I said,
What do you think that was?
I don't know. I still don't know.
Any guesses?
I've always been that person. I'm always the last one to see it. So in most instances, that's worked for my, you know, benefit. But I filled out the application. I was accepted, and I was speaking with the CEO, and you know, it was about March or April, and I asked, like, what conferences are there out there that we can go to? And she pulled up USCHA, and I applied and was awarded the scholarship, but it ended up being virtual.
Right.
Yes. And that was my first step into this journey of advocacy.
Wow.
The following year, I joined NAN, the National HIV Advocacy and Aging Network, and I am a co-chair of Trainer of Trainers. And what else did I do there? I applied for a mini grant, and I was awarded a $2,500 mini grant in which I facilitated a 5-part health initiative dealing with comorbidities, surviving long-term with HIV, nutrition, mental health and insurance. And it was for the 50 plus community. And then I was in Puerto Rico.
Which is
That's
where we
where
met.
we met.
This is where we
Yes,
started
yes.
talking about these tough talks. So, this doctor saw something in you, saw
Yes.
a light, a power, a voice, something they perceived in you. But it seems like something you don't necessarily feel in yourself.
Perhaps. I would agree with that, yes.
Okay.
But that's always been a part of me. I will step out into things without thinking per se, and like, oh yes, why not? And usually it's worked out for me.
Yeah.
Just stepping out on faith.
Would you say you have confidence in yourself?
It's grown. I have confidence, but I don't feel as though I have confidence, if that makes any sense. It's more inner, and I do have that inner strength.
Yeah.
If I put my mind to something, I will manifest it. But a lot of times I just take chances, and they've always worked out for me. I've been blessed in that aspect.
So you started stepping into your current role, or you started feeling your way through your voice in the
Yes.
in the larger HIV community in 2020.
Yes.
And now you're at this biomedical summit, how is this feeling for you? Is this feeling like something you want to keep doing?
Yes.
Do you feel like you want to do speaking or teaching?
Eventually.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So when we talk about the needs and the hopes for men living with HIV over the age of 50, what would you say people need to understand? What would you say people need to learn about?
We have so much to give. We have so much to offer. We have lived experience. They tend to forget that everything what's new is fresh and young, and we're here. We have a lot of history. We have a lot of knowledge. I'm sweating wet. Can I see the top?
Of
Yes,
course,
yes.
of course.
It's getting warm.
Of course. It's getting hot. Oh, wait, we're
Wrong
taking
place.
off our clothes. Okay.
Yes.
So that we have so much, you have so much to offer, to share, experience, wisdom, insight,
Yes.
and that you want to share this. You want to
yes,
put
definitely.
this out into the world.
And by doing that, it also helps me, because I have kept this in for so long.
Kept what?
Oh, everything for the most part has been repressed. So now I'm at that point where I really don't care. I don't give a damn. I'm living my life.
Yeah.
And if you're, if you can't deal with that or accept me for me wholly, that's you. But we don't have to be together.
Yeah.
And I don't hold it against you.
So you say there's a lot you've been repressing.
Just from stigma over the years, HIV positive, a black gay man, everything that entails.
So as a black gay man in Texas living with HIV, what does that entail?
No freedoms. I mean, I was talking to a friend of mine earlier who has become a mentor to me, and I was telling her every time I leave a conference, there's a depression that sets in. I mean, because I am with family, I'm with community, but it also rejuvenates me and energizes me. But at the same time, when I go back to my hometown or my space, depression sets in for a while, because I don't feel that same connection. In some ways, it's there, but dealing with everything that's going on in Texas right now, it's a hard pill to swallow. So, but we press on, we keep the faith, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Do you experience direct stigma in your day-to-day life in Texas?
If so, I don't receive it. There may be, but I'm at that point and stage. Your feelings are your feelings. I don't owe you anything. So.
One of the things I know you write about and talk about is disease.
The dis-ease.
Can you say more about what dis dis-ease means to you.
Everything that's being perpetrated and done against us, the laws that our representatives are passing, the bills that they're trying to pass, the funding that they're taking away or not receiving, that affects all of us. Maybe not directly, but indirectly. It's still a slap in the face. And inadequate housing, inadequate food sources, food deserts, all of that goes into that category as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Does that include the emotion, like the feeling that a lot of people have, dis-ease of being Black and HIV positive and having the right to have sex if you want to, when you want to?
That's included in that too.
Yeah. To have sexual empowerment.
I mean, no one should tell us, how to live.
Yeah.
We are consenting adults. So, sorry, what we are consenting adults.
Yeah.
No one should tell us how to live or behave.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't want that done to them, but it's always the ones in power.
Yeah.
So.
Right. So the ones in power who are trying to tell you how you to live, tell a lot, all of us how we should live.
Right.
Definitely trying to tell women
Exactly.
how not to live or what not to do. What do you do with all those feelings, Jonathan? What do you do with that dis-ease from others?
Try not to resort to repressing.
Yeah. What's the alternative?
Using your voice in a positive and constructive way. It's different for everyone. It could be writing letters, it could be doing phone calls to legislators. But as long as you show up, continue to show up, something will change.
You have also talked, or we have talked about some of the anger that's part of your expression now.
Yes. Goes back to my childhood. I was orphaned at 4. My dad shot my mom and shot himself. I'm blessed to be here in every sense of the word. I really feel as though there's been a hand upon my life, guiding me, protecting me. But dealing with that, or not having dealt with that, not knowing why, there are so many questions that were unanswered. And as a 4-year-old, you tend to look at, or at least I felt I did, what is it that I did to make this happen? And it wasn't anything that I did, but as a 4-year-old child, your parents are there and then they're gone. Yeah.
Were you there when that
Yes,
happened?
I was.
Do you remember that?
I did not physically see it, but I remember waking up and seeing my mom lying on the floor. And I remember she was in pajamas that we had given her for Mother's Day, and this happened in October. And as a 4-year-old child, half asleep, I looked at her and I thought that she was sick because she had all of this on her chest. But it turned out to be from 6 gunshot wounds to the chest and torso. And I remember getting some water, and my dad said, "I'm gonna take you next door to our neighbor." And I remember just grabbing his leg around the knee saying, "No, I don't wanna go, I wanna stay here with you." And as he picked me up to bring me next door, I saw the shotgun propped up in the corner by the door. And the next morning, the neighbor and I went over to the house and started knocking on the door, no answer, and she smelled gas. And she called the police. And I don't remember anything from that point on, help me with this please, until I was with the guardians who raised me. So that whole experience, the funeral, all of that time, I don't know how much time that was. I have no recollection of that. So I also feel as though that's been a protective barrier for me, but in some ways also a hindrance. I don't know if that door should be left closed or if I should explore it.
Does your instinct speak to you on that?
Part of me wants to know what happened, where I was, what was going on, but I oftentimes feel as though that has been a protection for me, so it's probably best for me not to know.
Have you explored that with a therapist on an ongoing basis?
No, I saw a therapist when I was diagnosed, so I am looking into seeking out a therapist now for that.
Thank you for sharing that. How are you feeling right now?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm actually enjoying this.
I am really appreciative sharing this.
That's why I wanted you to read it because of what
Yeah.
it said, and
Something you wrote that I read before we.
Right.
Yeah. We're in a hot tub, folks.
Really, it's a sauna.
So it's I think really important, and I think something in your spirit is telling you
It's time to let go and
to
move
let
on.
go. Yeah. And is this part of what you mentioned earlier about what's been repressed in your life?
Yes. A lot of things I just never dealt with per se. I'm just like, oh, it's gonna be okay. Don't worry about it. Just keep moving. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't stop.
That was kind of the message given to you.
Yes.
At any point, did any adult talk with you or ask you what you were feeling or thinking as a child?
Different generation. I would say no. My mom had me late in life. She was 38 when I was born, and she was 42 when she passed. So, and the guardians that raised me, they were all in that same age bracket, so they were older. So I always
And it
felt
was, you don't talk about these things with kids.
right. That's not a child's place or not a child's conversation. Even if it dealt with you. Different times.
Yeah. And I think today's the understanding, at least for me as a therapist, is that there is a relevance to
Definitely.
making sure that there's some sort of conversation or ability for there to be a conversation.
Right.
Because it's inevitable at that age for children to feel like I did something wrong. Because that's just part of how we think at that point.
Exactly. And that somehow stayed with me. For I found myself as I grew and got older, how much that was a part of my life that I really didn't realize. I never bought friendship, but never wanted to be a troublemaker, somewhat appeasing, just wanted to keep the peace, and that just added to things that were repressed when some things should have just been dealt with right then and there, and move on.
So you want to keep the peace and, in a way, like avoid confrontation.
Exactly. But not realizing what it's doing to me.
And at this stage, what do you think this is? What do you think that has been doing to you?
It's affected me in numerous areas. Some ways the ability to communicate with people. I really feel as though that a part of me froze at 4 years old. It has affected my relationship with people. Looking back, I found it, especially these last few years, it was easier just to be alone. You didn't have to deal or worry with any of that, but it's not worth it. We need human companionship. We need that connection. So I'm just opening all doors now. And closing some.
What doors are you closing?
It all started in 2020 with COVID at its peak. I know it was a hard and difficult time for a lot of people, and I don't want to sound selfish when I say this, but for me personally, it was the best time of my life I let go. I changed my phone number, changed my email address. I worked out at the beach that summer cleaning beach houses, just the tranquility of the ride to the beach every morning. It transformed me in some ways, but I just like, I'm not doing this. I'm not hanging on to negative people, negative thoughts, just did an about face or attempted to. And that's what got me on this path where I am now.
So COVID was kind of a reset.
It
in a
really
lot of ways.
was.
And made you think about some of these other
Yes.
things.
That came along with the conferences and everything. In Puerto Rico, the facade broke because I would get up to make a comment in a session. One was like trauma and PTSD. And it just like, the tears just flowed. I'm like, okay, this was the beginning of this process of finding my voice, releasing, coming into my own. So, yeah, interesting experience, to say the least.
Yeah.
But worth it. Wouldn't change it.
How is it worth it?
Even with the conference and advocacy and activism, I would get mad at myself for not doing this sooner. But it wasn't my time or place to do it any time before now. I wasn't ready. I couldn't deal with it.
Yeah. So this is, again, intuitively knowing
Yes.
that this is your time.
Yes.
This is your time to speak. This is your time to write. This is your time to be heard.
Yes.
And I'm getting really how different that's been from any other time in your life when the sort of reaction sounded like was to avoid.
Well,
that.
but also, I never really, I'm not going to say I didn't love myself, but I am giving love to myself now. We often give things to people. Those are the things that we want to receive. And I can't seem to get it from anyone else, so I've started giving it to myself. And yes, I would like to be with someone, but right now I feel as though it's my time for me to love me and to work on me. And when it's right, it will happen. Just like when this was right, it happened.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be patient.
Yeah.
I have work to do.
There's faith, I feel like, involved with what you're talking about.
Yes.
In terms of finding the way to do this at your pace in a way that feels right, but to make sure that you're doing it.
Exactly.
Do you consider yourself a person of faith, either like religiously or spiritually?
Spiritually, yes. Yes, I do. I mean, I couldn't have made it this far. My life has not been all doom and gloom. I've had some wonderful experiences. My major in college was fashion design. I was accepted on the study tour of the Orient with the Paris Fashion Institute. I ended up being featured on PM Magazine. I started off as a host at one of the top 10 restaurants in Houston, talked my way into the bakery and ended up becoming pastry chef. After I left there, I started my own catering business and was featured on the local news live at 5. And that jump-started my catering business, and I did that for 7 years. And from that, I met a wonderful family, Naima Howard and Deborah Doris, and I catered their Christmas party for about 4 years in a row. I became a part of their family. They took me with them to New York for their daughter's birthday party, and we stayed at the Waldorf, and it's been a good life. Despite the tragedy at the beginning. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm sweating.
Yeah, well, we're in a hot tub.
Well,
It's
I'm
a hot
under the
tub.
light.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah.
Yes.
So there's a balance. There's
Oh,
been a lot of
definitely.
joy. There's been
Yes.
meaning in your life.
Yes.
And there's been a lot of pain.
A lot of pain, and unfortunately, I've always tend to gravitate toward, or I've gravitated toward the negative, and not really realizing all the positive things that I've been blessed with that's happened to me. And you know, these things just don't happen every day, you know, so I feel very fortunate.
Yeah, I mean, to me, you certainly strike me as someone who's able to see a positive side or a very balanced side
Yes.
to the events of your life and how that's led you where you're at
But
today.
for the longest, I wasn't a woe is me person, but I lived in the past. I didn't necessarily see a future. I just went. But, never made plans, I just did. But I'm beginning to see things
You mean big
different.
plans about your life or your
Exactly.
living longer?
Yeah. People had set goals or 5-year plans.
Uh-huh.
That was not me.
Yeah.
I just, lived life, did what I wanted to do to the best of my ability, and took advantage of the opportunities that were presented to me.
Yeah.
I've really been blessed in that arena.
Yeah. So when you say that you have faith,
Yes.
what is that faith? Is it like higher power, or is it universe, or?
I believe in God. I am rethinking things, not in my belief toward Him, but in just regard to my sexuality and my being gay. Yes, I mean, that's against everything that church stands for, but I know that He's been with me, and I know that I'm His child. I mean, because if that's the case, I could have been taken when I was 4, but He had plans for me. So
Do you feel like being here and speaking out at this conference is part of that plan?
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. For me, one of my favorite books that I refer to for myself is called Man's Search for Meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And that was written by somebody who had survived Auschwitz in the concentration camps, who kind of underlined the thing that no matter what happens to us in our lives, no matter what kind of violence we're exposed to or directly the effect of, we still can find a way to find meaning and purpose and humanity in our existence.
Yes, I agree with that. I believe that, at least in my case personally, it's taken me longer to find my voice, but I'm doing that now.
Yeah.
And I feel as though I have a purpose. For the longest, I felt as though I just existed. But I really feel as though that being an advocate for HIV has given me a purpose in life.
Yeah. So what might you say to someone who is in their 50s and not feeling purpose, and perhaps having a sense that something from their past might be holding them back from their most expressed life today, or their, I don't want to say happiest, because I'm not really a big proponent of happiness, but their most meaningful and joyful life?
Never give up. Don't doubt yourself. And you're not alone. More so than anything, you're not alone. But when you're by yourself, you feel as though you're the only one dealing with whatever it may be, or someone has never gone through that before except you. There are people out there that can help you. There are people out there that need help. There are people that need your help. You have something that you can give them. You may not realize it, just like I didn't, but I'm finding it, and you can too. Just hold on.
Finding your confidence.
Yeah.
And you said earlier, kind of rethinking your sexuality. Is that part of finding all of this now? Finding your power, finding your purpose?
Yes.
Have there been ways you've been holding yourself back from experiencing that?
In certain areas, I'm a bit more confident. I don't know how to explain it, but it's part of the shedding your skin process. You're coming into your own, and when you do that, you gain confidence. You find yourself. You have respect for yourself, and you continue to grow, live your life. But you do what's best for you and what makes you happy.
Do you ever think about writing a book at some point about your experience, about your life, about what your journey has been like?
Off and on, I like the stories of the life I've lived. That would be an interesting book. But as I get older and as I begin to tell my story and release a lot of the things that has held me back, I feel as though that's a possibility.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you have also been inspired by people who are speaking their truth and being honest in a really vulnerable way.
I've met so many amazing people at these conferences. The NMAC staff, the three Kingsmen, as I call them, Jonathan, Damon, and Moises. But Michelle Anderson, you, Rod McCoy, you have all been a very instrumental part of my core group. You may not realize it, but you have. Just our conversations, all of that has led me to this and what's beyond. So
Thank you. It's really an honor. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. I'm being very serious. People are placed in our lives for a reason.
Yeah.
We may not know why. For the most part, we may not even think about it. But I'm at the point I try and be very receptive to all, because you never know what someone can bring to the table, what they can bring to you, or what they can bring to you for you to bring to someone else. So like I said, I'm like a sponge. I'm just trying to absorb as much as I can. I feel as though I'm late to the game. I'm not going to put a time limit on myself as for how long I will do this, but I feel as though I'm in it for the long run. I still have a lot to learn.
Well, and again, I really appreciate you're pacing yourself. You're listening to your intuition. You're giving yourself a chance to check this out and say, does this feel right? Does this feel okay? If so, go to the next step. Push yourself a little bit out of your comfort zone, a little more. And it sounds like that process has really been one that's been rewarding in terms of, but it still took you to be willing to learn and grow and push yourself out of your comfort zone here and there.
Exactly.
Like in the bathtub with me.
Yes.
To be able to feel, again, what's right for you. What makes sense for you? What's trusting enough for you?
A few years ago, I purchased this plaque, and it's in my bathroom. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And I've been comfortable most of my life, so I'm pushing myself to be uncomfortable.
Wow.
In that sense of the word.
Wow. That's beautiful. And I think that is such an important message for all of us at all places or stages of life, is to push ourselves to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it takes someone being real to remind us of that, to show us that. How are you feeling right now?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm glad I did this.
Me too. Is
Thank
there
you.
anything I haven't asked you that you want to share or communicate, or even, do you want to, I would love to do another Tub Talk with you in the future. Is there anything you want to say to your future self now for your next Tub Talk, that whenever we do that in the future?
Look how far you've come.
It's a beautiful message, because that's important, right? To
Yes.
remind yourself,
Yes.
all of us, to remind ourselves of that. I actually just said that with a client last week. It's
Really?
like, it's so easy for us not to see it when we're in it.
Exactly.
And I'm not a big nature freak at all, but I know when you're hiking, if you're going up a big mountain, every now and then, you want to just take a break, pause, look around, just look how far you've come. And maybe you're not done,
Exactly.
but you want to take a breath and see, wow,
I
I've
did
come
this.
this far so
Yes.
far.
Yes.
And I think when we're living our own lives 24/7 in our own heads 24/7, it's often really hard
That's true.
to do that. So it takes someone to remind me, to take a look, take a breath, enjoy the view.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Yeah. Okay. So if people want to follow you or keep up with you or see what you're up to during the year, is there a way for them to do that right now?
I just joined Facebook.
Uh-huh.
I need to change my settings because right now it's just for friends.
Uh-huh.
I'm not open to the general public just yet, but I will give my profile name out. It's under Joseph Jenkins.
Okay.
That's how you can reach me on
Okay.
Facebook.
So with your permission, I'll put that underneath so people can see that on YouTube.
Okay.
And I hope, as you continue to do this and, that people can see your journey and see how this process is going.
Yes.
And, today we're at the Biomedical Summit. We had a really amazing plenary. I
Definitely.
wonder if I might
Wonderful.
be seeing you up there someday.
I think you will.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the
I want to
capacity
put that
is,
out there
but
into the
yes.
Tubland that, I think we can see you at, and I can definitely see you on that stage. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thank you for sitting with me.
My
If you
pleasure.
like this interview, subscribe down below. There's over 100 Tub Talks now, and we're just kind of on this journey together of exploring purpose and living through trauma and taking a breath and seeing how far we've come.
Exactly.
And I'm glad to be on this journey with you,
Thank you.
Jonathan.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I'm glad to have you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.